We're going to have a slight amendment to the agenda. The December 20th meetings are not, minutes are not quite ready, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve the agenda and strike item 4 of approval of minutes. Could I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Tony. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. Well, Wes, anybody sign up, public comment?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
But we're going to move on to business at hand for tonight, which is old business. It's continued discussion of potential amendments to Town Code, Chapter 26, solid waste. And we have Monica Thibodeau here tonight that's going to enter into some conversation and be very helpful. We've got Pam Marlowe from Bay Disposal, Mike Stone from Southern Shores Realty, and folks out there, and Council Member Paula Sherlock as well. So thank y'all for coming. What background for you four that have been party to what we're trying to talk about tonight is the issues that we are having with solid waste and kind of the dissatisfaction in what happens when it gets out of control and too many trash cans are blowing over and flying around and aren't being managed by the owners of the property. So is this our second discussion on the town?
No,
Third.
it's our third official where we put it on the agenda.
Right. And what, for those of you all sitting out there, what we started off with was just kind of a gripe session, and then we got down to business, and I asked everybody to come back with 5 talking points that we could go over, limit what you were trying to do to 5 items. So we did fairly well there, and we really bumped around what we would like to do as a town. And all we are doing is we are asking town council to take on what we're interested in doing with solid waste. So it's a town code amendment. It's not a zoning text amendment that we would be making a suggestion to town to take it farther than what we're doing up here. But anyway, we had some concerns that we tried to, or I tried to boil down. I took the liberty of just going through what everybody had said at our last meeting, and we got it down to a page of suggested improvements to the solid waste ordinance and suggested requirements for rental managers. So, Wes, if you don't have that, or can you pull that up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That what you're seeing up on the screen is kind of the boiled down version of what we have been talking about in the last 2 meetings. And where I put TCA in parentheses would be to work on the town code on the amendment process. So basically the front item of that would be that we should use shall in certain areas in the ordinance where the word should is, just because should is permissive and shall means business. We were, as a group, we said we should establish a minimum number of trash and recycle receptacles based on advertised occupancy. We should have clear and prominent labeling with arrows towards the street on can lids. showing trash or recyclable. Require fully and functional lid covering entire receptacle. That's a big issue that we have with animals getting in and blowing all over the place. We suggested the support from Public Works in the off-season on rolling back cans and clearly obvious receptacle mishaps. We also suggesting that we enlist the police department in help for IDing excessive offenders using provided data based on rental managers' contact information. Next, we said that we should compile a concise notice to send to all property owners and rental managers of pertinent ordinances and expectations explaining penalties for noncompliance. See section 26-11. That would be on the staff end. And then create brief educational plea for tenants welcome packet. See requirements for rental managers to be required by a town ordinance. And that would be probably a town code amendment along with some staff help. And then this would be, hey, Dan, I introduced the other folks here. This is Dan Hardy from Joe Lamb Real Estate. Suggested requirements for rental managers would be to provide info on advertised occupancy. Occupants must be less than or equal to the septic capacity register with Dare County Health Department. Provide direct contact info, email for head property manager, which would be, would go in our database. And that would include in the tenant's welcome package a brief educational plea, which could be cut and pasted from an official Town of Southern Shores info about trash and recycling to include: do not overfill container, lids open towards the street, no loose trash, recycled materials outside of the receptacles, collection day schedule, roll back within 24 hours of collection, do not mix trash with recyclables, do not bag recyclables. So that was kind of our wish list, condensed, I would say.
Yeah, summarization, yeah.
To a realistic set of goals that the planning board would like to see occur. So, Wes, do you have anything to add to, what we're trying to do here?
No, sir. I think this summarizes it. The other summary that was provided in your packet was more of a word for word from each planning board member at the last meeting.
Yeah.
But this version, I think, covers everything that y'all have discussed up to this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess, having introduced, yeah.
I think this no loose trash and recycle outside receptacles, I think you got to tighten that up a little bit because they might think that they could put a trash bag. Saying
Okay.
it's
Well,
not
yeah.
loose, it's in a bag,
Yeah.
but you can't put bags.
Mhm.
Everything has to be in the
Or-
container.
No bagged trash or recyclables. Yeah. No loose or bagged, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause I think that sort of leaves an opening for something.
Well, I think if I can individually call on Monica and Pam and Mike and Dan, and maybe, I really appreciate you guys coming because we don't want to make it so burdensome on the real estate end or how we're operating the collection on the bay disposal end. And then Monica's just here because she's a great neighbor. So Monica, if I could call on you to maybe come up, because it's on YouTube and you'll be recorded.
Sure, thank you for having me. And I'm Monica Thibodeau. For those of you who don't know me, I'm on the town council in Duck, Mayor Pro Tem, but also have a property management company in Duck, Carolina Designs Realty, that I've been running for over 30 years. So trash has been a definitely a hot point for us over the years. And certainly I've been associated with Southern Shores all that time, not as long as Mike, of course, or Dan for that matter, but, with their companies. But my thought on the rental managers, things I've seen, and I did have a chance to read the background comments. I would say that first point is trying to, I'm not exactly sure what the advertised occupancy would do other than, because it did seem in some of the background information that, it was sort of making sure you had adequate cans for the number of bedrooms or so, it's essentially loosely 2 per bedroom for occupancy. Some folks have more, and we do pull the septic permits on each home in our company. So maybe just there, it might be easier just to say, if you have 6 bedrooms, you have to have a minimum of, X number of cans or something like that. So, kind of going by the number of bedrooms and cans and matching it up on an easy to connect, as opposed to publishing occupancy. Because I think the goal there, when I read it, was to make sure you have enough cans. I'm not as familiar with Southern Shores as I am with Duck in terms of replacing cans, but, and it does differ with us. We have 2 different vendors for recycling and trash. So in Duck, I just always have to call the town to remember. It's terrible, but, one of them you can get a replacement can, no charge. The other, you pay for it. But as a property management, putting my property management hat on, we certainly have no problem. We would never have a problem with getting a call from a town saying, hey, they need another can. And many times we're the ones doing the asking for another can. So I don't know what your maximum number of cans would be at a house, but certainly having everything placed in a receptacle is important. Just thinking out, another thought there is that, I should have had a few more notes here, but one of the things that worked really well for us last year, I was telling Andy before the meeting, was sending text messages, because we've put it in the welcome packages. We put it in the 10-day out email, which we send to those folks. We send them a reminder when they've gotten there. Hey, welcome. And don't forget your trash day is Tuesday or whatever. It goes in and out in one ear and out the other. And, some people are diligent. Certainly having the sticker on the cans would be helpful to remind people, because there will be those folks that are dealing with the trash, and going to do the right thing about putting it out at the appropriate time. But we had a lot of success with that, reminding people to put it out the night before. And because that is such an easy thing to forget when you're on vacation. And then all of a sudden it just backs up. And so we actually have a guy employed that all he does is pick up trash all week. He cooks the excess cans, because sometimes, he does a few other things, but that's one of his main jobs. He drives around a trailer, and we've even looked at the kind of mechanism that can pick up a toter and put it in a thing. It didn't work out that well for us, but he'll just pick up the excess bags and things like that. So trash is on our mind all summer long, but getting them to comply with just reminding them in a timely manner really did help us a lot this year. So I'll mention that. Certainly no problem with the second bullet about the head property manager. Anybody that, you could put one, I can see anybody wanting to be the responsible person at that company for the trash. And that could be, the property manager in conjunction with a supervisor on the maintenance side of things, or because 7-day-a-week operation, that's how we roll. So we've it's not always going to have the same person, but you have a few people that you can contact. That would not be any problem. And I've already addressed the education piece of it. When it comes to what can go in a recycling can and what and I just think I understood clarification that you can only put it in a brown paper bag in Southern Shores, or can you have it loose, recyclables? Can they be loose in the?
You can
be
use a
loose.
brown
Okay.
paper bag?
They can be loose, I'm hearing. So yeah, you just don't want them in a plastic bag. So that is a real, and contamination of recyclables. I know how tenuous it is to have, and what a privilege it is to be able to recycle. And I hate the thought of people just throwing everything in and not even, even my own office where I've worked with people for 7 years, and I have to contaminate the recycling, and I put all kinds of, it drives me crazy. So it's difficult to train a whole new crowd every 7 days. And then I might say that, we do have the case in Duck, and it's been a problem for us to the point where we're going to be talking about it at our retreat in the coming months. The whole idea of the cans being out on Duck Road. And that, I know you have a big swath of vacation rentals that are right along Duck Road, and that, becomes unsightly and dangerous when they blow over. I think we don't have a public works department, but I liked the idea of getting your public works, and even if they, pulling them off, at least getting them off of Duck Road, to me, that's what I'm going to be suggesting in Duck. One of our town council members suggested we just get rollout service for the whole town. Well, I don't know about that because that's kind of pricey, but I could see it for the Duck Road for the safety aspect. So that's just a thought, just at least pulling them back off the road, because that's the whole problem. I mean, with the changeovers being Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have mostly Saturday and Sunday changeovers. We do have some on Friday. The housekeepers want to, they want to get the cans out, so then they're sitting there. So if they're not allowed to be out there, that's not a problem. We'll say this, to the housekeepers, just leave them in there and just report to us if it's a problem, if there's overages already, because then you've got a new person coming in and they're just like looking at a bunch of smelly trash under the house or wherever the cans might sit, which, we can work with that though. So if the idea is that they're only allowed to be out and, right before the schedule, which I don't see there, but I thought that's what I read in one of the other things. So I think that's everything I'm thinking of addressing there. Certainly something we work on a lot. We definitely want to comply. We want to help. I will say years ago, there was an ordinance that was a civil penalty for trash infraction, and it didn't last. I don't know who was here at the time, or if you guys remember that, but that was that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Southern Shores had that penalty. It was a disaster because the homeowners felt penalized and they were like, wait, I don't remember exactly how it was structured, but it didn't work.
Well, yeah, I remember leaving a lot of second homes are not rentals. I remember leaving the trash can out on Sunday, it doesn't get back, and it's got a fine. I mean, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't, as a resident of Southern Shore, I'd be really angry.
Yeah. So I was kind of thinking along the lines of the resources that you might put towards, citing people. You might as well just go ahead and help them roll them back. Use that resource in another way, at least on the main road. So does anybody have any questions for me? And I'm glad to continue this conversation.
Yeah, Monica, we talked about the texting before, which I think is a great idea. How does that work? Do you have a program, in other words, where you just put it into your program and the program, you don't have an individual doing all these texting?
Well, it is actually a manual process for us with these one-offs, I'll call them, because we have a software program where we can text everybody and that's a current guest, for example. It works great for weather-related issues and things. On this particular, and then we can text all of our homeowners and send an email at the same time. This particular program, no, we have to have a spreadsheet. I was saying that we have to update and by town, because we have North and South and Corolla. Duck was doing 2 collections. Southern, everybody has a different day. And so we had to literally have a spreadsheet and then seasonally update it. So we did manually but we could, it was fairly automated once you sorted what you needed. So we could do it by subdivision, for example, and we could do all Southern Shores in one swoop. But it was something that we just tasked somebody to do almost every day at work at the end of the day.
Okay, is it feasible then because one of the things is the rollback. Is it feasible, I'm not saying for a Duck to do this, but is it feasible that you could text people to say, roll your can back today? In other words, you're texting the night before to say, roll it out.
Yeah.
And then one of the problems is they're not rolled back. And some of them roll the wrong cans out, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be feasible to have that same system that you utilize with them going out and telling people to bring them back.
Absolutely.
There's a feasibility.
This was our first year for texting to remind them, and I could certainly see enhancing it. And like I said, we have the software to do it, but I don't know if everybody does because we all use different programs. So, but it really did help a lot. I know that it just took a lot of it took the edge off of the problem.
Okay.
What do you see as the biggest problem that you need to fix in Duck right now from the government end on trash?
On
Not-
trash,
not with your
I
business,
think
but-
that we did and you may have read about it, but we tested it. Our trash is waste management. They asked us if we would do a split Monday, Tuesday. And so we did a survey to make sure that everybody felt okay about it, quick questionnaire, and they did. But then after it was done, and the survey did make it sound like it was just going to be for the summer. And then, it went into October, and folks up north, which was, they felt as though the problem exacerbated, because then I guess what I was gathering was the cleaning crews would put the trash out on a Saturday, to sit out on the road, again, mainly Duck Road, but in Sanderling, it's kind of tight and windy in there. So I think it was a lot in Sanderling too, or just everywhere. So the cans were sitting out from, Saturday night, Sunday night. And then we're used to having them picked up on Monday was the normal trash day, but then it went to Tuesday. So then people felt like the trash cans were out 5 days a week. And if it just felt very trashy in Duck all of a sudden, and people were really upset about that. So we just went back to we met with the waste management. They came out and spoke to us, and they have their own issues with labor and drivers and truck maintenance and all that stuff. But they went back to the Monday collection, so that the entire town will be there Monday. It doesn't really address the idea that the cans are going out on a Saturday, though, because I was trying to figure out, why are these cans out 5 days a week? It just wasn't adding up. But then when they talked about it, now North Duck has a rollout service, I found out. North Sanderling, I should say. There's North and South Sanderling. So there are some subdivisions in Duck that do rollout. I think Four Seasons is another one in middle of the town, but that is by subdivision that they do that, and don't have a lot of information on the costs of that. But I was, one of our new council members, Tony Schiano, was suggesting off the cuff last meeting, what about doing rollout for all of Duck? Well, I wouldn't think that, but maybe off of Duck Road, because that's the safety issue and the, unsightliness of it. But it was extending into the neighborhoods. People were upset.
The two large houses that you have here in Southern Shores that you represent, they're both 12 bedrooms, 24 occupants. Big trash issues with them. I ride by there all the time, and so I see, cans out on Saturday, and they're filled to the brim, and that your cleaning crews are getting them out. Who wants to roll into a house that has 6 trash cans full of trash? So there's not a whole lot of option there that I can see. Would there be anything that you could think of that might help that along? Or and honestly, I've seen trash piled up around those cans on occasion, and that's what we're wrestling with. How can we make it better?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you, I think I don't get a chance to ride up and down Duck Road that much, because I'm stuck in Duck, as I like to say. And then, but yes, when I've driven by, I've looked at the car count, number one, because I now know that those houses were a sensitive issue in the town. But I haven't, if I've ever noticed any kind of overflow, then we're usually calling the office, as our maintenance techs are kind of trained to do that as well. Maybe not stop and pick it up, but note that, so that we can get somebody to come around and get it. But in terms of the getting out there on a Saturday, or putting it out beforehand, if you folks don't want that on Duck Road on 12, we can definitely work something else out where we're rolling it in and out for them. It's just like you say, I can envision them being over to the side somewhere, certainly not under the carport, because then it's kind of not that great to come into. But yeah, if there's any complaint about excess trash, it's just a phone call typically, and we'll get over there and get it picked up.
Would you? I'm trying to think, or we are trying to think of ways that when it happens, something like that happens. The one suggestion from our end was that the police are riding up and down the road a lot more than the residents are on Saturday and Sunday on turnover days. And, if they had something in their police car that could pull up the data and see, Carolina Design House number 220, they'd have a straight through shot to either your property manager or your maintenance manager. I mean, do you see any real burden with that occurring? And you fellas too. I mean, if there's something egregious going on and the police see it rather than us, and they call up and go, hey, to your rental manager or whoever would be in the database and say, we've got a problem here. There's 6 or 8 bags of garbage out here around these cans. You need to get somebody over here to pick it up. I mean, how do you feel about that, Dan? Would that
I mean.
be burdensome? I'm
No,
sure it
we
would.
do it every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, our inspectors go to every house after every tenancy, and if they see the trash, then we just want to pick it up.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And I applaud what you're doing. Honestly, I do. It's a problem. I think with the bigger the house, the more the problem. And honestly, I think the thing that I think works the best with bigger houses are dumpsters. I think that a dumpster on site in certain size houses is the only way to go. And my biggest houses, it works, and it does. And Southern Shores doesn't allow them, which I don't know why, because you don't have these big houses traditionally. But I think that's the way to go. And what size house that is, I can't tell you, but it might be 10 bedrooms, or it might be 12, or I mean, certainly I think a 7 bedroom is more reasonable in size and probably doesn't have the issues that these bigger houses do. But I know right on the corner, it's a nightmare. These 3 houses across.
Oh, yeah,
the street,
that's usually a bad
they're
spot.
all-
Those are all 10
y'all
bedrooms,
have to-
yeah.
Y'all put a dumpster in that. cul-de-sac.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's more accessible there than say up somebody's driveway.
Right.
Yeah, backing in and getting out. I mean,
Yeah,
they would kill our wheels when we throw that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of dumpsters on
Time
Killen.
to pick up.
Yeah. And I know on several occasions, I've called every one of your real estate companies and asked to speak to, somebody that does the property management right by. And usually it's solved in a couple of hours' time, I mean, the reputable real estate companies that you all 3 represent are on it. But you get the odd one that, kind of blows you off, oh, yeah, we'll get it, and it doesn't happen. But Mike, would you have any problem if we called your property manager up and said, hey, we got a problem up across the street?
Basically, I would say we have a property services department. You call the department, because you never know when someone's going to be off.
Yeah.
And you might go into voicemail. But we got people that go out and pick up trash from trash cans, relieve the trash cans, so that the incoming tenants will have some space to put their garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do that.
Yeah.
You got the number of cans in the houses, so our contract is such that we see the house that should have more cans. We've got it that, hey, you need another can, but at a certain point, the number of cans, there's not enough room for the number of cans on the side of the road in front of the house.
Is y'all's policy, all 3 of you, the cleaning crew rolls the full can out to the street upon completion of their cleaning duty? So,
If they can.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so full, you gotta sit down.
Yeah, so your tenants complaining that they got to roll the can out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had to complain, hey, you didn't wash out the can before I checked in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I have a question, Dave Roberts, Outer Banks Blue.
Yeah.
Monica touched on it earlier, and I'm just not familiar. Is there a requirement for the 2 trash can, or one trash can for every 2 bedrooms? Is that I know that's a best practice, but is that a mandate from the town? I mean.
We currently have an ordinance that takes us to 7 bedrooms, I think.
Yes.
And, we've evolved into more occupancy here. Granted, we're trying to, tamp it down, the
Sure.
density in town here. But that's one of the things that we're struggling with is how to gauge that thing in increments. And we will definitely have a number to recommend to town council to goose up what is currently in play right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was originally done in 1986, the last time this was updated.
Sure.
And the amount of trash cans and recyclables cans required does not fall into today's environment. Because they said once you go over three bedrooms or something, you still only need one recyclable can. So it just doesn't fit into today. On another note, not to be a bearer of negativity, but I have called, I'm not going to say which company. I have a rental property next door to me that I've called the rental company on multiple occasions because trash is left next to the trash can. And they've never come out and cleaned it up. Never. And myself and my neighbor across the street end up cleaning up the trash for a couple weeks. We've had to do this. Not now because nobody's there. But so saying, yeah, we send somebody out, and I'll tell you right now, the cleaners never roll the trash can out. Never on the property next door to me. Not on occasion, never. So I think we have to deal with the reality of the situation rather than the ideal situation. And that's what we're looking for is to guide us into a reality situation rather than an ideal situation.
What you dealt with the last 2 years are not normal circumstances.
No, absolutely not.
Everyone in here, the management company, we're all struggling to get staff to do the things that you're talking about and other things they're doing. I mean, I came close to having 1 or 2 maintenance people for the entire summer. I got lucky. I got a couple of these people. But every one of us has ads running for people throughout the summer, almost year round for almost every position. And I'm not going to use bad names. I'm going to call those people that choose not to work for various reasons. But there's just too many people. I mean, I've told people where to go get a job, and they go, I'm going to sit out on unemployment as long as I can.
And that's a sign of what has transpired, but hopefully, I mean, we're trying to set things up for the long haul.
Yeah.
And I understand Tony's angst. He's living it. It's right there next door to him. He lives on one of the numbered avenues, and you put a bag of trash out there, and a fox or a raccoon or
I know.
possums can be in there in 30 minutes. Not quite as bad out on the main corridor going through town, but that to me, I mean, I feel for Tony that he's got to deal with it. I'd be beating the hell out of the real estate company. I mean, I'd be calling them up all the time. But I think the biggest issue is going through town from Pelican's Watch to 13th Avenue, and more narrowed down than that from Pelican's Watch to the split in the road. That's our main corridor going through town, and oftentimes it gets junked up by a lot of messy stuff out there from people that are here for a week and don't know the rules. And would it be, for instance, what do you all send out with your packet? I mean, is it all online now, or do you?
No, we have it in the house and a stand that we, that we try to keep the minimum, because a lot of people don't read a lot,
Yeah.
but we have it in a stand in the kitchen area
Sure.
so that they're kind of in there. And we also have it in their check-in package. We do put a check-in package in the house kind of with their welcome package. It's keyless entry, but they get that as well as they get the digital stuff.
Would
Did you
there
have-
be room to do the physical part, would there be room for, like an index card or a half a page from Southern Shore, the town of Southern Shores, in your Southern Shores properties? I mean, could you, if,
They're not going to read a half page of,
I mean,
I think
just-
if it said trash day Tuesday, they might read it.
I was thinking you'd be better off having some kind of sign that you put on the wall near where the trash cans remain in the house that tells them what the garbage pickup
Yeah.
schedule is,
Mhm.
and what the rules are, and I swear, maybe even going out on that stupid, well, not stupid, the bike path or whatever, draw a line and go, this is where your cars go, because they put them on the west side of the bike path, and we've got to go out and push them out across the street and get picked up
Yeah.
across the bike path.
Yeah, that's what Nag's Head's working through right now. They're having,
It's just, it's almost to me, I mean, we all understand the problem, and we all agree there is one. Some type of education effort, by the town, the community, not just Southern Shore, but all the towns, asking people to enjoy our beautiful area, but keep it that way.
But that's where, I'm thinking some very concise plea, just like you said, Dan, some plea that you could put in your welcome packet that, hey, we're all in this together. You don't have to necessarily go out and get 2 shots and a booster, but by God, at least help us with the trash situation here. Make it good for everybody, and just keep a real simple plea, and then give them the dates of the collection.
I think that a very simple and kind of hitting the environmental side of things.
Would that be too big of an ask for you to put that, have your cleaning crew put that in with your, the physical stuff that your tenants see when they come
Yeah,
in the house?
but I'll just be clear,
I-
many will not
I
open
understand.
that.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of something at the house. I mean, another initiative we did several years ago, based on a county initiative, was to put a little sign that we just purchased for ourselves. They're not very big, but we put it on by the pool and at the front of the house saying, this is your address, because a lot of people don't even know where they are, right?
Yeah.
And so and 911. So it's just a nice little thing, but it's just 911, and then it says you're at 123 Chip Court or whatever. And to me, I just can sleep better at night knowing there's something by the pool and something at the front. If there's an emergency, these people can call. And I guess phones have gotten better, but there was a time when if you called 911 from a cell phone, they couldn't pick you up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so having some kind of a sign at the trash site that, our guys could just stick it there, right? That kind of, but also the idea of, much like the safety aspects of countywide, the environmental aspects, because I was at the Orcas Islands. I got a nice chance to go there many years ago, and they were so strict with trash. Now you're on an island, but we sort of are. They had like one can, it was very restrictive in terms of how much waste you could actually generate. I mean, it was a whole thing, Monday can, Tuesday. It was, I've never seen anything like it in terms of how much you had to restrict what you could throw away, but we're not
Well,
there.
We're
We
not
just let
trying
them
to do
throw away
that, but
everything.
Certainly, there's room for improvement from,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Before you go, and since you're all here from different property management, what about this rollout fee? What if the companies across the board just charge a nominal fee and you take over putting the trash can out and moving it in, and you know how much trash is not in that receptacle, and you check with your cleaning crew? I mean, it's probably not the day that the house is clean that the trash goes out. They might want the extra income to go and to take that trash can from that property, since they're already cleaning it anyway, and move it out on that day, and they get paid. And what you all do is just a charge for that rental, and it's done for them.
Yeah, but you're saying you're already charging me for that. And, we can't find employees to do the main tasks that we need right now, much less move trash around. I think it has to be, there's got to be a better way to get through to these renters. And we all communicate a lot with our renters, but how much they're actually reading or absorbing, it's
Well, they're
limited.
on vacation and they probably
Yeah.
care less, unfortunately.
Right, until they don't have room in their can, and then they call, right?
We have we share the frustrations in our business. We too. I mean, we understand the problem. It is a problem. And I just don't know. And I think Monica said, if we're looking to make Southern Shores look better, then we ought to just, the concentration area is Duck Road.
Sure.
Ocean Boulevard. Those are the areas that really look the worst, and that's what everybody sees. As you move into the interior subdivisions, you don't have as many rental homes. They're all there,
Southern Shores is a lot more year-round people than it used to be on all the streets. So it does, it does affect the neighbors and such. The best thing that the town had done in the past, the town has touched on trash a lot since 1986. As I've been in some of the meetings. The best thing the town did, and they quit doing it, was actually giving the property management companies magnets with the actual pickup dates on them to put on the refrigerator. So every time someone opened up the refrigerator, it was another notice about the trash. I think we all either have a text or a voice call or something to all the tenants every time stuff's supposed to be rolled out and come back in. And I think we have trash pickup information within the houses also about when to put it out and such.
Would the text message system that Monica was talking about, would that be something you'd be amenable to?
I think that's something that we either already have and utilizing that and the voicemail.
Uh-huh.
One or both.
How about you, Dan? How do you feel about that?
I love it. Right now we're just working with email.
Well, our system is automated. It just goes out.
Yeah. I get a reminder from my dermatologist about 5 times before I actually have the appointment. And so I'm sure the technology's fairly easy to come by. It's just implementing it. Where do you see the problems of trying to do something like a text?
And if we've done the other thing would be what y'all talking about is co-mingling of garbage and trash. You mentioned your stickers. At one point, stickers were on track provided for the trash cans also. And actually identifying what is the garbage can, what is the recycle can.
Yeah.
Because so many people don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how many different color of trash and garbage cans that are out there provided by the department. The companies that town used to use, the ones they use now, and the ones that buy at Home Depot.
I would like to ask a question related to recycling too, which throws part of this into it because guests, again, don't really care that for their trash and recycle bins too, because there's a space and they're leaving that week. My understanding from last time I talked to Bay, Waste Management, recycling right now coming from out of Texas going to the incinerator and getting burned or sent out to the landfill. It's not even getting recycled because there's no market right now. Has there been any consideration of just stopping the recycling and turning those into trash cans?
Well, we've gone that route and Pam, would you mind? Would you mind?
We actually, our recyclables, we take to RDS, if it's not going to an incinerator. That was, from my understanding, something temporary.
It was
A while
temporary.
back.
But yeah, there's no market right now. It costs more to recycle and pick up recycling than it does trash. So, okay, I was just curious. I know other places not around here, but other resort places have said it doesn't matter anymore because there's no market, so just trying to start buying it and then guests can use them.
It hit a raw nerve here in Southern Shore, so we went with that route for now anyway. How long is our contract for?
It can be renewed. It can be renewed annually.
Okay.
So I have a comment too, that one thing that's causing us issue is the change of day of recycling. You're there on Saturday, Sunday, you can get those carts out to the street for the Monday pickup. But you're not there on Tuesday, and those carts, I suspect, and I've seen it, are just getting filled with trash and everything put out there. So I don't know that we're actually able to even correct that problem. I recycle at my home and I can get it out on that Tuesday night, but for a guest, I just don't think it's happening. And, you know, recycling is a great thing, but in vacation rental, I think it becomes just much more difficult.
How hard would it be to have your cleaners not put out recycling?
Hard.
It would be.
It'd be hard.
I mean, it's kind of
I
a,
mean, we're fighting a battle.
I know.
We are fighting a battle because I'm going around and around with the cleaners and the inspectors. Who's responsible for getting that darn trash can out and ride by on a Sunday night? The trash can's sitting by the house and I'm ballistic. I mean, come on. You got 3 shots at it.
yeah,
The tenant's supposed to bring it out. They don't do it. The cleaner's supposed to bring it out. It's a cleaner responsibility. They don't do it, then the inspector looks at it, it weighs 100 pounds, and I can't push it out.
right.
It's a problem.
So,
I don't know. The change of day is, to me, not good.
well, we don't, I mean, we won't always have control of that. I mean,
Yeah, we've, at one point, it changed a few years ago to the Wednesday. And at one point, I think it was a closer pickup date and I think it worked better, but we have asked for other days, but historically, it hasn't been able to work out.
Yeah.
If it could be on the same day, it'd be great. I know one of the reasons that Recyclable didn't go out on regular trash day, it was because it was, that disposal said it's okay, we'll charge you less if you'll do your recyclable on Tuesday. And that's the reason that we have a separation of days, right?
Yeah. Well,
And that's one of the reasons that it looks like you have cans out
All the time.
I agree. I mean, you know, trying to save a nickel, you spend a dime's worth of aesthetic. So, I mean, but we did save a fair sum of money, splitting it up like that. But I mean, it's kind of out of our hands for a while anyway, isn't it?
We can request it when we talk about our contract renewal, I assume.
Well, does anybody else have any questions for the real estate side of it? Because I want to get a couple of questions in for Pam.
Yeah.
Yeah, fire away, Tony.
Now, one of the things, again, going back to 1986, and this is what we're working off of, understand. What was recyclable and what went into the trash cans in 1986 probably is not applicable today on some of the things. So there was many questions came up about what could go into trash and what could go into recyclable. Is there any way that Bay can provide a detailed account, not just, you know, for instance, 2 questions came up from people, grass clippings and grass. Can that go into the trash can?
The trash can, yes.
It can go. Now, see, 86 says it can't. So that's why I think it was good that you came, because we really don't know what is now applicable in today's standards. So is there any, now the paper bag, I was surprised at, honestly, that you could use paper bags because you still can't see inside what's in there. And I know the plastic bags you can't use. So is there any way that you could provide, or Bay can provide, a detailed account of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable?
Absolutely, yes, we can definitely do that. We have our other service areas other areas that we service, we can definitely do that. One point would, I mean, we can provide them in all different ways, you know, we've done door hangers, which are great for rental properties, like cleaners, you can, you know, put them out. That, which is, you know, where one side will have like the acceptable and non-acceptable material for recycle. The other side could have your, you know, trash pickup leads. Not to go off subject on it, but over Christmas break, between Christmas and New Year's, my family, we rented a house up here in Southern Shores. And it was actually through an Airbnb. And so I'm not, you know, I'm not in the rental business, so I'm not really sure how different it is with an Airbnb compared to, you know, going through a property, you know, rental company. But that's one of the first things I looked at was, how are they handling their trash? And, being in the trash business, of course. And it was very confusing. Had I not known what days.
I called you.
No, I mean, had I not known what days Southern Shores Trash and Recycle goes, we were there for a week, so, I mean, and it didn't clarify whether we were supposed to put it out or if someone else put it out. Obviously, we were there on Wednesday, so we knew to put the recycle out because I was there. It did list the days, but so we left on a Saturday. We left New Year's Day, which was on a Saturday. I knew the trash goes on Monday. It didn't say, the cleaners will put it out, it didn't say any of that. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't wanna get charged for this, so I put it out. Sure enough, we got a ton of wind on Sunday, and that's all I could think about was those cans up here in Southern Shore just sitting out until my guys came by and picked them up, so. And it is, it's just, knowledge and, I agree, people don't read stuff, but, I mean, if we don't provide it, then you don't know what you don't know,
Pam.
Exactly, and, I think a key too is putting it where, just coming up with creative ideas, I know it's, may cost more or whatever, but, you've got the text messaging is great, because everybody uses their phones. The door hangers were great, because everybody has to walk through the door, so.
And we're only texting them about one person, right? And if they are not, if they're on the beach or they forget, that's the crowd, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would like to have everyone's text.
Pam, does your company supply signs that would say trash only, recyclable only?
Yes.
You would, and are they stick-on signs? Is that,
Yeah, they're actually stickers that would go on the cans.
so your company would provide that upon request?
Yes.
How about the sign for the house? Would your company provide, you said hangers. Does your company provide that upon request?
Yes, we could also do that as well.
And would the town request that, or would the rental companies have to request that?
Either or, some of the service areas that we have right now, we actually work very close with the property managers. We work close with the rollout services. Many of the rollout services have my direct phone number. We text back and forth, if my trucks are delayed, if if for whatever reason, so, that we're all on the same page. We want there, we're local, and even if we weren't, we're here to provide a service, so we want it to look, just as nice as all of you. And especially the fact that we're local, my guys will live here, we live here, and, we want to work with you to, keep
Pam,
everything
who do you do rollout for? Nothing in Southern Shores, you don't,
No, it's in Corolla.
what is the criteria for getting rollout service with bay disposal?
So the HOAs, many of the HOAs up in Corolla already have that service.
Right.
So they just set it up, they kind of know our schedule, things like that. They don't, since we just have the contract with them, they don't contract with us directly.
Right.
It's with the HOA, but, we just work hand in hand with them.
So would you do individual rollout service if say Carolina designs 24 occupants, the house is up here at Chickahawk intersection? Would you do just one house for rollout service, or would you have to have multiple accounts to make it worth your while?
Well, we don't provide the service in general. I'm saying they have their own rollout service.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not providing.
No. Now we do, We have on occasion, you know, and I'm not 100% sure on like pricing and all that, but we have had like what we call like backdoor service,
Mhm.
where, you know, a customer might pay more to have that service
Right.
provided to them.
Yeah.
But doesn't happen too often anymore, but I'm not saying it couldn't.
Hmm.
But that would be like one individual here, one
Uh-huh.
individual there, not a whole community.
Is there, I mean, I was looking at your handout here, and you've got suggested requirements for rental managers.
Yeah.
I mean, you as a governmental entity can't really put any kind of requirement on a third party. You can put it on a homeowner, but you couldn't go out and find Joe Lamb for a Joe Lamb home in Southern Shores that it's not pulling your trash back.
Yeah.
I mean, could you tackle this thing by doing a rental service fee on your homeowners who have homes in a rental program, and they can, I don't care if it's Airbnb or VRBO or Joe Lamb or Southern Shores, but the homeowner would be required to pay a yearly fee to cover your costs for dealing with the issues their guests cause.
Good question. I don't know.
I mean, could you create some kind of fee for a rental home in your town? I mean, I don't know that there's any other way to do it. I mean, you can find a homeowner for Joe Lamb not doing something,
Right.
but you can't find Joe Lamb.
No.
But it would get our attention. So, but I mean, it seems like it would be a better way to go to tackle the problem, our problem. I mean, they're the ones causing the issue, right? I mean,
Sure.
it's the renters who are coming and staying in these homes, and paying that homeowner all that money. Why not make that homeowner pay for that service a little more? I mean, I'm asking.
Well, it may,
You're concentrating on the rentals, yes, a lot of it's rentals, some of them, you've got some good tenants and bad tenants, but y'all touched on something earlier, which always comes up. It's not just the rental property owner, it's the second homeowner that comes down and leaves the can out.
Every weekend.
mhm.
Every weekend, every other weekend, whatever happened this last blow and everything got fallen all over the place.
But Public Works has to get involved a little bit more, I think, in a situation like that. There was a house down on Duck Road. Neither of you represented the house, I don't think. I won't say who it is, but there were like 7 or 8 cans out, just beyond the split on the right-hand side. Those cans sat out there for a week.
Mhm.
Two guys that are part of this town, and Public Works could have easily just kind of scooted those things back off. And that's kind of what we need to gear towards. And then, like Dan says, if we can come up with some sort of homeowner fee that helps pay for an extra guy on Public Works to handle trash, especially in the the peak season, and make sure that the corridor going through the town looks a lot better, then it might be something that we would need to explore from that side of things. But we can do better. We just have to figure out how. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pam, as far as problems that your company has with the way trash and recycle are put out, what are some of your concerns that make life a little harder for your collection?
Definitely the knowledge of having everything in a can. All of our trucks are automated with the sidearm. So it's not like, we're running with someone with on the back of a truck backing, you don't see too many of them nowadays, and you know what I mean? So, everything, that's one of the main reasons. Plus it, obviously just makes everything look nicer and keeps, so everything being in a can, the spacing of them.
How much spacing do you really need? Can the tops of the cans touch and the arms slip in between them.
Ideally, we do like them further apart and not touching. Just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, easier, but I think our rules say 3 foot apart,
Yeah, 3
and
foot.
that's just not
Yeah.
practical. Or
Yeah.
that big rig there, they got more cans than that have road frontage.
Yeah, I think 3 feet is probably definitely excessive, but definitely spacing in between them because, they have to get it just right in order to not knock them over when they're touching.
Yeah,
And it just creates a mess, and it gets very frustrating, when, when they're together like that, because they do, a lot of times they get knocked over then. So the spacing is, is a big thing, and obviously away from any, mailboxes, vehicles, things like that.
Do they, does your driver ever get out of the vehicle?
Yes,
They do. I mean,
yes.
like, if one can's in front of the other, which you see them in circles, you see them lined up from front to back. I mean, I don't know how the heck,
Yeah, they are instructed to get out.
Wow.
If it's a stop that every week is like that, then sometimes it'll generate like, okay, let's figure something else out here, whether we let it sit and generate the call, but we have stickers to put on, that say, reminder, please place your cans this way.
Yeah.
So we try to alert them, at first, and then if they ignore it, then after a couple of weeks, we might say, okay, let it sit to generate a call, so we can say, hey, we left your stickers, just space them out. But they are, if it's a one-time thing, they are instructed to get out.
Mhm.
A lot of people have that misconception that, they don't get out of the truck or anything,
Right.
but they are instructed to.
Good. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
How about the lids facing the street? Is that,
So the cans can be dumped, backwards,
sure?
but it's not ideal, because it does, get hung up and it doesn't always empty completely.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it blocks the vision of the camera also, that they can't always tell if it's empty completely. So, when you dump one of those cans, those cameras that show, and if you can't see it, then a lot of times you have, trash still stuck in there.
Do you have stickers with arrows pointing at the street?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say, and that's what, that's what's, one of the things I thought about with this house that we rented, it didn't say anything about spacing or, because it's funny, I'm out there like spacing them out and making sure they're facing the right way, and just because I know this, but no one else might be able to do.
Well, from the real estate end, how hard would it be to get a fresh round of stickers for every can that you have in your rental program? I mean,
We can do it.
In the winter time,
yeah,
Now we're
Doug's
at
doing that again right now. Doug's getting new stickers,
Yeah.
just getting volunteers to do it, but
Yeah.
we're happy to take the stickers too, and that's what we do right now.
Yeah.
So,
Well-
yeah, we're used to putting stickers out.
that's certainly something that, as a planning board, we are going to suggest to town council to help alleviate the
And
problem.
it's like, I've been banned from putting magnets on refrigerators. They don't like it, they get a little.
Well,
and then,
If you got a stainless steel refrigerator, that magnet doesn't,
no, we
And they
also have the same information on stickers. We just put them on.
Yeah, we can too.
yeah, just a sticker on the refrigerator, sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like
clean,
a plastic, doesn't
the clean.
Yeah.
it? So,
We're doing that on elevator doors too.
Mhm.
We've been doing that before that accident, but we've had elevator cleans, so we have to put them on the wall.
Mhm.
next to the elevator, so they're clean.
Yeah, the problem with stickers outside on a can is they don't last more than a season, maybe two, but, I mean, I guess it's how you apply them too. You gotta,
Well, it's also a training exercise because you've got to probably at least 60% of everybody returning each year. So if they run something 1 year, you can carry on.
Yeah, you'd like to think.
You think, yeah.
Well, does anybody else have anything for our?
I just have one question for Pam concerning the company. And it's recyclable, go back to the recyclable aspect of it. And I know if it's in plastic bags, you can't take it. Does the company, the company's actually losing money probably by people putting things in plastic bags or not putting the proper things in. At that point, is that when you dump it? The same? So in other words, you come in and there's a load and you see 60% are in plastic bags. You can't use any of that. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We, RDS can reject.
Yeah.
Our loads if they're not, clean recycle. So, I mean, the nice thing is it does go to our transfer center
Mhm.
station first. So some of the times we can, if it's just a little bit, we can, weed it out, but we also don't take MSW at our transfer station. So, then now how do we dispose of it, So, but yes, RDS can definitely reject our load and we're forced to take it somewhere else.
So it would be very advantageous to have your company, Bay, give a pretty explicit list of what can go in and what cannot go in. And actually, it would benefit your company as much as it would benefit us in the Southern Shores.
Yeah, definitely.
You have stickers for that?
Really simple. Yes, we can definitely get, whatever way you think would be best to get the information out there, we can definitely, provide something for you, whether it's in the form of a sticker or flyer or whatever you would suggest.
Wes, I mean, do we have stickers at Town Hall at the moment for anything like that?
Like Mike said, we used to distribute,
Yeah.
there have been times where we have distributed stickers. Most recently, this past summer, we distributed refrigerator magnets that had a list of materials that were acceptable and were not acceptable. We got that through a grant. And we still got some left. But the stickers has been done in the past, and I'm sure that's something we can
Yeah.
work on in the future.
I think the multimedia approach is the way to go. You hit them with the text messages, you put signs up in the kitchen, and where the trash cans are parked, in that vicinity, you put a thing, say there's trash and there's recycling, and the recycling has the list. So if you're out there dumping your recycling and it doesn't match, you're right there and it goes in the trash, and you just have to hit them 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
If Southern Shores wants to provide us with some nice little Southern Shores logo signs, we'll put them on. I
Right.
think provide the trash can would be the most effective place to put them, and I have owners that have done that in their homes, and it works.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the more information you have, looking at a can, and
Put
A-
a brad on it so you catch their attention.
it gotta be something flashy. I don't know, but,
You mentioned, you mentioned the welcome packages that you give to most of your guests. Does that include like a trash bag or something like that usually? Like a few trash bags or a couple to get them started?
Yeah, there's one, they just get one trash bag. Everybody's a little different, but they get one starter supply of everything.
I was thinking about the idea of a paper bag, a single paper bag as well, with an explanation that recycling needs to go in a paper bag, not a plastic.
and put it in the can rather than on the ground. Well, Pam, is there any suggestion that you would be able to give the town that would make things easier for bay disposal?
Like I said, I would just definitely say education and, it's just something that we continue to have to do. And come up with creative ways to do it, whether it's social media, internet, paper literature, anything, we have to keep educating. and making it a big deal that it is, you know, the towns all around the Outer Banks, you know, we want to keep the environmental friendly,
Right.
you know, feel here, and, you know, to keep our beautiful beaches like that, we all have to work together, and, you know, just trying to get a message out to, you know, the visitors, and, another thing too, as far as recycle is, you know, possibly, you know, looking at a more like uniformed, as far as cans go. That, you know, there's so many different, you know, cans out there and things like that, and,
How often does your driver pick up the wrong can, you know? Is that
well, they,
quite often, or?
none have really admitted to that. But I'm sure it could happen. It's funny because I was just talking with them the other day about that, and, the nice thing is the drivers that we do have out here have, you know, been with us for a long time, and they kind of know,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, if we say had, you know, someone off, or someone filling in or something, it could probably definitely happen, because it is, you know, it can get a little confusing.
How many cans, Tony, different flavors did you count on your street?
8 different types of cans on my street alone. And I live in a cul-de-sac, a small street. And there was 8, I went down the street and labeled them 8 different cans.
Yeah.
So will you pick up any can on 2 wheels that looks basically like a garbage or recycle can?
Different days.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, I'm just
If it's
saying.
out there on
But if they're stacked up there from Saturday until Wednesday, then, you know, obviously Monday's gonna get most of it, but, I mean, do you pick up any receptacle, one that came from Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's or?
They definitely try to look for the recycle label on them, like, a lot of times, generally, most people do try to use something similar to that, but if not.
So the label, the sticker would be basically foolproof for your driver.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But outside of that,
Yeah.
honestly, with them just knowing the area so well, it would definitely be difficult.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything for our distinguished guest tonight? Questions, comments? Well, folks, thank y'all for coming. Really appreciate it. And we're going to keep beating on it. We're trying not to make the real estate. We're advocating a few changes that might throw a little bit more work your way, but not a whole lot, I don't think. So thank y'all for coming, and yeah, we really appreciate it.
And I hope you call me if those 12 bedrooms are,
Oh, I will. I have, and they've actually gotten on it. I mean, to their credit, within a couple of hours, the problem had been taken care of. So what was your name again?
Dave Roberts.
Dave, okay. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Dave, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, man. We'll load up on those stickers. We're gonna send somebody over there.
Start printing.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing they need is a water. Stickers.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to go handing out down your street. Thanks, Mom. Good to see you.
2 weeks in a row, 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. They don't have
We'll call the big boy there.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk a little bit more and then adjourn, or you want to talk a lot more? If so, we can take yeah, I've got some snacks here.
Why don't we talk a little bit more and see, because I think this is pretty concise. What we
It
have to
is.
do is now somehow put it into a text form.
Okay, thanks,
Help me
Dan.
out.
See you. Okay, well, we'll continue on with the agenda, which is, we're still at old business, and we'll talk about this. Tony suggested that we look back over this pared down list, and once again, to all of you, I just tried to squeeze what we had talked about in the last two meetings down into basically what we could hammer on and maybe make happen, but, so go ahead, Tony, what,
Well, I think how it's been pared down is pretty good. What I think we have to work on, one of the things that Monica said that I totally agree with, but we've gone back and forth on this before, is what do we base the number of trash cans on? Occupancy according to the septic system or bedrooms? And I think the bedroom is a more realistic, something that is easier to work with than the occupancy. Because septic systems really, I have a septic system that's very large. When the builder built the house, he said, you'll never have to do anything. I've been there 20 years and I've never had to do anything. Of course, I just go out back all the time. So I think, to me, I think a bedroom rather than occupancy is it. I try to make these things so anybody could pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
And I don't care where they are in New York, they pick it up and they say, oh, I have this many bedrooms. When they look at it and say, what's my occupancy? And they'll look at the real estate where they have bunk beds with 4 kids in and, you know,
well,
so.
and that happens.
Yes.
And those 4 kids are, I mean, one of my family's houses that I've built over the years got this giant bunk room. It's 1 bedroom on paper, but it's got 3 twin beds and 2 doubles in there. That's what, 7 people could stay back there.
Yeah.
And that's if it,
And they need a lot, and they're gonna generate.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with, you know, the language in the ordinance being advertised occupancy, because it might keep the real estate companies a little bit more honest on how many they advertise, because you can go through some real estate brochures and go on Airbnb or VRBO and look at some of the advertised occupancies, and they're well in excess of what is allowed in Southern Shores. And so if you advertise that your house sleeps 20, then you got to have enough cans to take care of that, just because it's only a 7-bedroom house.
What's the formula for trash and recycling? Given the-
Well, that, we haven't
given the
really,
occupancy of
we haven't
20.
really honed in on that yet. We talked about it, but.
Yeah.
Wes, is it just one recycling and the rest is just trash?
We've
No.
got it up on the screen right now. It's basically 1 recycling, and then if it's a rental, the number of receptacles for solid waste is based on the number of bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, no matter if you've got 4 bedrooms or 10 bedrooms, it's only 1 recycling receptacle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we,
Yeah, that's the old ordinance that says that.
in my notes from the last meeting, we had the 8 occupants, which, you know, by your thought would be 4 bedrooms, but, and it's listed as
Yeah.
bedrooms in the ordinance. But 8 occupants, 4 bedrooms was 2 garbage and 1 recycle. You move up to 10 to 14 occupants, which is 5 to 7 bedrooms, it goes an additional can and still the same, recycle. 16 to 20 occupants, or 8 to 10 bedrooms, was 4 cans, 2 recycles.
Yeah.
And 20 or greater, which is 12 bedrooms, Monica's 2 houses, she represents the 2 large soccer houses. But they sleep 24, advertised, would be 6 and 3 recycles.
Yeah, that's what we had last
And-
time.
I don't know if you've got those pictures that I shot of that house. They've got adequate amount of cans. At the one there at Chick-hol Pike, they have adequate amount of cans. And go back. I should have pulled that up because that's right across the street from Mike Stone's business.
Yeah.
And furthermore, he represents, they're the rental agent for that right there. And it's right in front of Town Hall. I mean, right in front of Southern Shores
Right,
Real
yeah, right
Estate
in front.
Office. So anyway, if you can go to that, yeah, that's the one there at Chick-hol. They've got an adequate amount of cans. They're just overfilled and the lids, or some of them are torn off and some of them are half open. But anyway, yeah, that's 24 occupants and there's 7 or 8 cans out there and they're filled to the brim. So I don't know. I think
It's not enough.
no, but I mean, 6 probably isn't enough. Maybe
Yeah.
7 or 8 for that particular house. But if we do by bedrooms in increments, I don't know.
Well, wouldn't that's 12 bedrooms and what they do, they list the occupancy according to the bedroom, most
Sure.
of them. And we know that's not the realistic thing that takes place. The occupancy is always greater than the bedroom, but there's no way to monitor exactly what that occupancy would be. So they might say, okay, we have 6 bedrooms and it houses 12 people. They might sometimes have 4 people. Sometimes they might have 18 people. So the occupancy is like a moving target that's going to be difficult to have. But if we have the bedroom, which in my opinion, which is the simplest, easiest and clearest for somebody to pick up and read the ordinance, at least we're having consistency with the amount of cans. There's a
Okay,
consistent factor in, and
Yeah.
that's what you need, because if anytime anything's inconsistent, you see, how it is.
Mhm.
And we talked about doing every 2 bedrooms
Hmm.
after the 4 bedrooms, have 1 additional container and 1 recycle. So in this case, you would have, as it states here, you would have the initial 2 and you add 4 more. So that would be 6 trash cans, but you would have also 4 more additional recycle, because maybe some of that trash got put into the regular trash because there wasn't enough recycles.
Mhm.
I think that was the problem we talked about, that there wasn't enough recycles.
Yes.
So now you've added 4 more recycles. So basically, you're going to end up with 2 more. So you got 8, you'd end up with 10 trash cans. But those would be recycled. Now, supposedly, the recycle is not put out the same day as
Right.
trash. So you should be able to have enough that you won't have an overflowing like this, because you'll have more receptacles for the recyclable.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
so
And-
that might work.
That-
2 bedrooms with the 1 additional for recycle.
yeah, the recyclables in a house like this, let's face it, nobody's going there. I think not the majority, a lot of the trash in these larger houses are party houses, which equates to recyclables.
Trying to think, Wes, did you have a can breakdown of what you sent us?
I did, but it doesn't match what you just read.
No. Was it in my comments?
It was under your comments.
Oh, yeah,
It's on the last page.
Yeah. Let's look at that. The comments that we all made, that Wes sent us, from the December 20th meeting.
The breakdown was number 8 on the last page.
Yeah, on the last page, the breakdown that we had talked about, I think, was 8 to 10 occupants, which would be 4 to 5 bedrooms. Right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
We said 4 and 2 recycle.
Mm-hmm.
12 to 16 is 6 to 8. We bump up another trash can, keep the recycle at the same. Beyond 16, 6 receptacles and 3 recycle,
And there's
which,
probably not enough
well, judging by that picture there, which is, I mean, there's a big gap at 16 all the way to 24. So maybe we have to portion out. Let's see, there's one 10-bedroom house on Ocean Boulevard past the split, and then those two that
Two
are
at
12.
I think
That's the 3 biggest.
The 2 with the 12 are that's the most number of bedrooms in town.
So maybe we
We could go
go
16
16 to,
to 20 and then 20 plus.
yeah. Yeah, and just, so,
So 16 to 20 would be 6 and 3,
yeah, I think so. And then,
and 20 plus 7 and
20.
4, 7 and 4.
yeah,
At what point do we require a small dumpster? I mean, that number of cans out there is ridiculous.
well, the problem I see with the dumpster is, where do you put it? In the flower bed there?
It's up to the property owner adjacent to that driveway. They have them up and down the beach road.
Oh, I know, in Kildover Hills, there by the monument,
That's right.
they're everywhere, but
We don't have that many houses that would require a dumpster.
I
So I
don't,
don't think it's gonna happen to our Ocean Boulevard, but it wouldn't be bad for a couple of houses like this to have a small dumpster in there instead of dealing with this twice a week.
oh, I know.
Are you allowed to have dumpsters in Southern Shores
You'd have
for
to-
You have them for construction.
Well, no, I mean, you'd have to create an
Yeah.
allowance for the dumpster once you get to a situation like that.
Yeah.
It's just manually, you gotta run barrels, containers in and out, which is the problem, to get people to haul them in and out. So if you just if you had a small dumpster, it would cut down on the logistics of handling trash.
And who empties the dumpster?
Waste management.
Waste management.
They will.
But
And they'll
is
charge the owner the fee to go in and do that.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, is the dumpster, the truck that lifts the dumpster up different from the truck that lifts the cans up?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
That's not our problem.
Well, I don't know.
I just think-
Unfortunately, I think we're stuck with,
no, I don't think
I don't
you have to, I don't think you should fool with it. If you're generating this much trash, you need to have a dumpster. It just doesn't make sense to be having to fool around with the logistics of these things, and then you got all those things that could blow over in a windstorm.
well, they're about out of room too when you
Yeah.
try to space them. I mean, is there any, do you know of any zoning ordinance against a dumpster, Wes?
I can't think of anything right now in our ordinance that would, we don't have anything that addresses residential dumpsters, I can recall, other than for construction. You have to have a receptacle whenever whenever a permit's been issued on a
Sure.
property.
But
But as far as residential, I don't think we have anything in there right now, but
no ordinance against having one, is what I'm asking.
not that I can think of at the moment.
Well, it would be something certainly to explore.
You all can add it to your recommendations to council.
I would say that for now, we go with what we talked about with the cans, and then with a caveat that we are suggesting possibly a dumpster once you hit
A certain number, magic number.
20.
Or 20, yeah.
You're talking
Which, let's face it, it's only going to be two properties.
two properties.
Well, I think also if you had a dumpster, if you made provisions that someone could have a dumpster, it would be so much easier
As an option.
as an option.
Mhm.
It might cost them more, I don't know, but it would certainly eliminate that on the highway.
I've spoken to one of the representatives that were here tonight about a property or properties that are close to each other, about them getting a dumpster. And he asked me if the town would pay for it.
Yes,
What?
well,
If the town would pay for it.
A dumpster
Yes,
for private property?
yes.
I would.
we'd help him maybe.
I would.
We'd,
No, we'd write
we'd pick it up. How
We
about
might
that?
write an ordinance that would allow it. Perhaps create an ordinance that would allow it and also an ordinance
Or
that would
potential-
require it to be hidden.
I don't think you necessarily would need to put an ordinance. I mean, well, typically you would have buffering, screening requirements, buffering
Yeah,
requirements.
sure.
So that's that's what you mean. And yes,
Yeah.
that would be necessary if that's
Yeah.
something y'all wanted to recommend. You would need to consider how it's located, where it's placed, how far from a property line, does it need to be screened? So those are things to think
Yeah,
about.
and a lot of people don't want to give up that flower bed for a dumpster. So it would be,
And you'd have to make sure it's emptied too every week.
well, that would
Dumpster,
be,
you
yeah.
would have to make all those requirements on it. And would you base it on occupancy or bedrooms? And if we do it on bedrooms, 20 bedrooms and more,
No,
then we
12.
should actually
12.
keep these as bedrooms and not
Right,
occupants.
sure.
Because now you're having the real estate company say, well, okay, we only have, 8 occupants, so this versus the bedrooms. I think it'll make it easier if
Yeah.
plus if we'll get the real estate agents to help us if we don't make it too cumbersome for them.
Mhm.
And, to get them to do the right stickers and put it in the right place. So I think if we stick with bedrooms and not go with occupants, it would be better.
Well, at 8 to 10, once we exceed 10 bedrooms,
Right.
And then you have to think about the person living next door to that dumpster.
To the
That's why
dumpster.
it has to be, buffered and also emptied,
Well, dumpsters service is usually pretty reliable.
yeah, I would think.
Well, I'm sure because you're gonna have to contract probably with the owner to have that.
Yeah,
Well, and then it's, will they disposal put a dumpster pickup in their collection cycle? Maybe the dumpster comes on Tuesday, who knows? But there are only 2 properties that will have that situation.
today.
Hopefully going forward, I mean, we've, right now, it's capped at 14 occupants or 7 bedrooms, 14 septic capacity. So it isn't, without really circumventing what we've done to avoid that, it shouldn't happen again in Southern Shores.
Does anyone, Wes, you may know, or you as a builder might know, what is the cost for a dumpster to be picked up?
I do not know.
No idea.
I don't know.
I was just curious because, huh? Yeah, it might be cheaper or it might be outlandishly expensive. And I was just curious where something like that falls into. I don't know. Do you know by any chance?
We have contact with Dave for the commercial pickup, and I think it includes 24 dumpsters. So I think we could negotiate somehow with Dave, just treat these as 25 and 26.
Okay.
And they would be picked up on a different day.
Yeah, when do they pick up at Town Hall?
We got cans.
Yeah,
We have dumpsters.
we don't have dumpster at town hall.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I don't know, but I don't think it would be the same residential day, but I'm not sure it wouldn't get picked up the same day.
Right.
Going out from the street real quick.
Mm.
It would be picked up the same day, probably. Whatever schedule that is.
Well, let's move on. Let's say, after 10 bedrooms, it's, how many did we say? 8?
7 and 4.
I mean, 7.
20 plus.
Is 7 and 4, 20,
Yeah,
20
7 and
plus,
4.
20
That
plus.
would be, that would be occupants, but
Well, just equate it to bedrooms.
Yes,
two-
yes.
2 occupants per bedroom, so 7 and 4 would be our suggestion. And then, as a caveat to that, we would say, let's explore possibility of dumpsters for those 2 properties. It's obvious that they're the,
For trash. You still have to do the recycling.
that's right,
So-
yeah.
Well, I think we have an opportunity to allow property owners to have an option.
Mhm.
You can either have 6 trash cans, but if I was a property owner and I lived there full time and I just didn't want to roll in and out or whatever, and I had a place to put a small dumpster
Yeah.
in my property and hide it, why couldn't I put a dumpster there? Especially if it was a second property where I want to throw the trash in here, I'm leaving for the airport. I'm not rolling stuff in and out. Trash
Well-
will come get it when the time comes.
It would make it easier for the real estate company too, because their staff wouldn't have to roll it out and roll it back. But it's just something that we need to
I'm just
suggest
thinking
and
of
maybe.
opening it up as an option for property owners.
Yeah.
In lieu of multiple cans.
Mhm.
You don't have to have 10 bedrooms to have a dumpster. If it's more convenient for you and
Yeah.
you screen it and you pay for it,
So we gotta talk
Mhm.
to Pam about what her dumpster options
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, okay.
If you do something like that, you circumvent the town. You'd have to put in there, so the town would not be, suddenly have to negotiate for 20 more dumpsters. The homeowner pays for it, and they would do a negotiation with the town, wouldn't you?
I don't know if you can provide a service for some and not all. You know,
Okay.
I don't know that we could just cut them out of residential trash.
Gotcha. Okay,
You can do that for commercial,
yeah,
but I don't think,
you could do it for
I don't
residential.
think so.
Okay.
and perhaps a stipend in lieu of. If the town's covering all your trash pickup and you roll out 8 cans, if you want to get a dumpster instead,
That I think we can, and yet again, you know, I mean, whatever we're paying for 24, I can't believe it would be, I don't know how many people would take up on this, but
So what are you saying we're paying for 24 or what?
I think the contract says, the contract says we'll pick up 24 dumpsters at this price. Anything above that will cost additional.
24 different, so it would be, if the number's 24, it's 24 different locations that we pay for the collection.
We are currently paying for.
We
20
pay for the commercial, yes.
Huh. Well, where is it picked up besides Taco Bell?
Marketplace,
Thing,
Southern Shore
Crossing.
Crossing, Sandy Ridge Center, Banks.
yeah, I think there's a couple of businesses on Juniper. that you-
Yeah, Juniper, a couple in Juniper.
Okay.
There's a list,
Mhm.
and it's based on that. But
Right.
you asked earlier, I don't remember what the cost was.
Okay, well, once again, let's move on.
Yeah.
We'll kick it to, staff, town council, or, you know, just a suggestion that we should explore dumpsters.
Well, maybe too, when you're talking about that, let's just look at the number. I mean, if we're talking about 2 properties right now that are really good uses.
But it's
But
like,
if you make it open to more properties that aren't those 2, then the question will be, you'll exceed your 24, and then you're into another price range.
mhm,
So maybe at this point, find out how many receptacles or trash, or the dumpsters we already have on the list. And see if we squeeze these 2 in, that we're still covered with that other, the first 25. Otherwise, you're gonna go to the next 25 and pay, but I guess then you're gonna charge the owner directly anyway, right?
I mean, I think it's part of the tax.
Okay.
I don't think you can carve out one residential trash service
Mhm.
under this.
Gotcha.
We will look into the number and discuss with Bay, depending on how it progresses.
okay, great. All right, anything else that catches anybody, wrong in what we've got on this list? Obviously that, labeling, we should certainly, that would be high on the list for suggestions. I mean, she said, the driver's looking down, he can see recycle. I mean, I've seen the, you know, it's big yellow sign with red letters on some of these cans, but if he can see it, he knows what he's picking up, regardless of what flavor the can is. So
Right.
that's certainly big. We didn't talk about fully functional lids, but it's something that I think should certainly be stiffened up in the ordinance to at least send out to these real estate companies is you got to have lids on these cans. You're the property manager, you get it to your property owners, but you got to have a lid on the can or else, there's going to be some repercussion. Public Works, once again, I didn't mean to put you all on the spot, but that would have been handled. You could have talked to David and said, hey, send you guys out to such and such Ocean Boulevard. And that's an example of where I think Public Works could pitch in and help some. It wouldn't necessarily be all the time, but, on clearly obvious mishaps where there's that example of the Southern Shores bags on the ground. That might be a little bit too much to ask for our guys to pick up, but certainly a phone call to Southern Shores Realty would have taken care of that. And I think we talked about compiling a notice to send to all property owners and rental managers of the ordinances and the expectations and explain what the penalties could be. I know Dan Hardy didn't think much or them of, being put on notice that their property owner could get a fine for, them not adhering to the ordinance. But I mean, we gotta, at least let the public know. And it's probably going to take a mailing from the town to all property owners, and then rental managers as well of those ordinances.
Yeah, one of the things that he didn't mention, that I think why he doesn't like it, no, we can't do the property management and ask them for fine now. We can fine the residents. But what will happen is the residents will not be happy, and they will contact property management and say, hey, I'm getting fined. What are you people doing? You're supposed to be rolling and putting the trash cans on cleanup. So I think what you're going to do is end up getting positive, you're going to have negative feedback to the property management, which they wouldn't be happy about, but it'll also force them perhaps to follow the regulations.
Yeah,
So
well-
yeah, we can't fine them, which is clear, but you fine the residents a couple times and they'll say, I'm going to go to somebody else. And suddenly you're going to get complaints.
Well, and then when you're sending the notice, to all property owners throughout the town and, make people aware that we are trying to tighten up the situation here that we're dealing with, then it puts everybody in town on, note that we are trying to do better. And,
That's just, whatever your agreement is with the rental company, it should be stipulated who's responsible for trash.
Yeah.
And that's where, so if you're out of compliance, owner's gonna get the bill and he'll have to figure out what he's gonna do with it
Well,
because he's already signed a
that's right.
contract with the rental company.
It's like that picture of all the bags on the, if that happened every week, Southern Shores really just kept habitually doing that to that property. Well, at some point you got to go, okay, we're going to write you up here. So we need to have the ordinance in place. Granted, it's going to be complaint driven 90% of the time, but we certainly should have it.
Linda wrote up in her suggestions
Mhm.
that whole thing about, so maybe make
Yeah.
that part of what you said to them.
Well, sure, yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that when town council starts talking about this, that, what we've all our comments and, what you had printed up in Linda would certainly go in their packet of talking points. But as far as, what the suggestions for the rental managers would be, I mean, I really believe in keeping them honest. And there was some abuse where they were, advertising more bedrooms than they had septic for several years ago. I remember, Southern Shores Realty was who I was familiar with, and they actually contacted me and wanted some septic information. And it was kind of a step in the right direction, I thought. So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from with, the septic capacity, because if you go and look at some of these Airbnbs and some of these advertised properties, and then have Wes pull up or you got to get it at county health department, but pull up the septic permit and see how it matches up. Well, it doesn't match up.
A few years ago, we had a campaign to notify we attempted to notify all the property management companies about, we checked all the advertisements.
Yeah.
We sent out letters and everything.
Yeah.
But
and then, as far as putting out some, educational plea, I don't know, it would have to be something that caught the new tenant's eye, but I think it's something that we should require the rental companies to at least provide in their weekly packet is somehow, they can cut and paste whatever we could come up with as far as is a brief plea that we're all in this together. We're trying to keep, our town looking pristine, and we appreciate your help. And, if 50% of the people look at it and toss it, at least we've hit 50%.
That's right, yeah.
You gotta try.
Yeah, yeah. And we won't know until we try, so. Anyway,
Okay, what's the next step?
yeah. Well, I would say if y'all are amenable, I will take this list and go over it with town council at their February meeting and hopefully get the ball rolling somewhat in their direction and get some idea of what our role is going to be in this. So if that's okay with everybody, I'll take this cleaned up list, and it granted, it doesn't have, a lot of the stuff that you had has great merit, and I want that to be included in their packet. But, I tried to slim it down, but,
What about the stickers and are you gonna?
well, well, Paula's here. She's taking notes. We can rely on her but yeah, that's definitely going to
I
be.
mean, I can get going, right?
Yeah, I don't see why we don't get the stickers as soon as possible,
Yeah,
at least for
I
the
mean,
trash
but-
cans.
And they've got
Could we do a preemptive strike on some stickers?
we can follow up with Pam.
Mhm.
I think we can get that rolling.
Wes, this is just a curiosity question that you may or may not know. How many properties are you contracted for trash pickup? So in other words, how many, just the number of properties alone? Do you have any idea?
I think in the contract, it's like 28, 23,
2,800?
around 2,500, something like that.
2,500?
For
Okay.
recycling?
Yeah. So probably if you're looking at that, it would be 2,500, 10,000. Because multiple trash cans and replacement, that type of thing. It's just thinking ahead.
Well,
In other words, when you call up, I need 6 stickers, it's, when she said it's fine, and you might call up and say, we need 10,000 stickers.
Yeah, well, at some
She might
point-
get chest pain suddenly, so.
At some point, I suppose the town's got to cover.
Yeah,
price of stickers and stuff like that. But if we can, certainly if we could do a preemptive strike, and at least get it in the newsletter that there are stickers available for trash cans, and that maybe put something in the newsletter that we are starting to work on the trash situation here in town, and, you know, some, maybe give a brief overview of what we've been doing, and that there's a fresh batch of stickers for those that want them at town hall. And
I've been notified that we do have stickers available right now at Town Hall, and it's this one right up here, I believe. Isn't that right, Sheila? The schedule?
it goes on the can. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the collection schedule that goes on the can.
And then maybe the can, either the recycle or I mean, she said she had both recycle and trash and arrows.
And arrows.
We used to have large stickers that simply just had an R for recycle or a G for trash.
Mhm.
I don't know if they were reflective for that, the lights of the truck, and then picking up,
Yeah.
hit it, and you put it on the side.
Well,
Many years ago.
maybe we get her to bring us a sample pack of maybe 100 of each, and just, you know, see if that's what, because if they're providing them, then they must work.
Yeah, I don't know where we got them from, it wasn't big.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also, just as a side note, I belong to the Recycle Association in North Carolina. They may also have stickers. In other words, this is an organization that that encourages recycling. And they might be thrilled to provide stickers also. I get emails about once a month from them. So it's just a thought. It's another avenue. You don't have to pursue it, but it's enough, you know, the more knowledge or the more, it might be another thought. North Carolina Recycling Association is what it's called.
Speaking of recycling, I think if there are any references in the ordinances that specify what can and cannot be recycled, it ought to be removed, since that changes.
Yeah.
And you have it on the website, what is recyclable today.
Well, if we can get Cliff or Wes or both of you working on maybe giving Pam a call, and it sounds like, I mean, is her office right over the bridge?
I think so.
I'm sure she'd be glad to bring a decent handful of stickers. And I think the huge issue is labeling
Yeah.
trash and recycle, and those letters got to be about that big. And the ones that they've got are pretty big.
Yeah.
The ones I'm thinking of, the sticker's probably 4 by 8 inches maybe, and the letters are pretty good and stout. So,
Have to do a stick.
yeah. Anyway, well, anybody else got anything?
Since the big issue is Highway 12, or Ocean Boulevard before the split,
The most obvious is,
it's the number one, that's what it brought it mostly to everyone's attention. Have you considered hiring a rollout service just for that section? For the benefit of the town,
I
it
don't-
look nice.
I don't know how, I mean, dumpsters would be one thing, but a rollout service, I would think that would come from what Pam said was a homeowners association up in Corolla. I'm assuming Four Seasons in Duck hire someone to come in and do theirs, is what Monica was saying. But I would think that would be more like, say, a Fairway Drive Association wanted to do a rollout service. That would be easy to attain. I mean, you're still, the association would be the one assessing, you know, how much people would pay for that convenience. But
So you don't think the town of Southern Shores can do that?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, we can.
Could we assess those people?
Yeah,
That part's gonna be different.
I know I know of a town that used to assess, it would be everyone on 12, everyone on, I don't know that you could assess some and not the others. And then provide the service for everyone on that street. It can be done.
huh,
There's a company called Trash Detail, and that's what they do.
down here?
But it becomes a question of, okay, if we, this was years ago, so I don't know if you can still assess, but the town could contract with someone to provide that service. The argument becomes, everyone on the oceanfront's getting a cart rolled back at a cost to the town, but no one else in town.
Mm-hmm.
That's the argument that service, but it goes back to what you said. This is the corridor, this is the visual.
And everyone benefits with that. Just like the oceanfront property owners pay higher taxes and they're paying a higher assessment for renourishment. The entire town enjoys this, but they're bearing part of that cost or a larger cost. Anyway, I just think it's worth looking at the town's benefit.
I will put another bullet in the suggested improvements, for talking points with the town. Yeah, okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, obviously, public comment. Paula, you're the only person in the public out there. You have anything you need to talk to us about?
Oh, I always have something to say. No, this is very interesting. I'm gonna go to the dumpster control. Drive around and see what these dumpsters look like. So it's really, but I have to agree that 7 or 8 trash cans out in front, if somehow you could hide a little dumpster over to the side,
Yeah.
it's certainly an option worth looking at.
Mhm.
And I live on Ocean Boulevard, so I know
Yeah.
how trashy it looks sometimes.
Well, we're gonna have a wish list that I'm gonna bring to town council, in February, so nothing moves quick. We'd like to think that we could get it all hammered out before the season starts, but we're making a start, and hopefully with y'all's help, we can move some of this along in the form of strengthening our ordinance to the point that if we have some hardcore violators, we can do something about it. And sometimes that's the only way to get people's attention, so.
Well, and I was just telling you, we just rented a place in Florida, and the penalties are draconian for not putting the trash out and putting it back in. It's your obligation to do it, and good fine.
Yeah.
They're very upfront about it, so I'm all for communication, but I think financial penalties for homeowners, and some of these rental properties are pulling in $25,000 a week. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, I don't think penalizing them is a bad thing.
Right, well, and it could go all the way up to loss of service, and that would get their attention. So, anyway, I think we're down to, in the agenda, we're down to planning board member comments. Any? Tony?
Just one quick thing to make everybody aware, they did, the town council passed a produce stand ordinance that was sent over with a few minor changes. So I just to keep everybody updated, we hashed that over so much, I just thought everybody should know.
Yeah.
There was minor changes, but it did pass. That's all.
Ed, Robert? Well, once again, I'm planning on taking this list to town council to get the ball rolling with them and just see where they want us to plug in or if they want us to plug in. So beyond that, I don't have anything else. Wes, announcements, what?
The next meeting will be held February 22nd at 5 PM. That's a Tuesday again due to another holiday on the 21st. And at this time, it could be additional discussion of solid waste and recycling. I doubt it would be signage. So we may get into 160D. We shall see.
Okay. Well, I'm going to back up just a second. I did have one thing to tell all of you is that I had a meeting with Wes and Cliff and Matt Neal and Elizabeth Moray today, just trying to kind of hone in on some signage issues that council may have. So we certainly didn't change much, but we changed a couple of things and tweaked it around that are still hanging out there. So Wes, make sure I get this right. Next step will be, we didn't finish it up. We got stuck on temporary signs.
Really?
Imagine that.
I'm shocked.
We're going to have one more session of the five of us. And then you're going to put it together with Ben's help in a TCA, in a ZTA.
Yeah, well, the draft that it's in now will be revised following our next meeting with the group you mentioned. And then I will get with Ben to have him take a look at and provide, review everything that we have proposed. Some of it he's already seen, some of it he's not. And then also there are two or three sections where we're asking him for his guidance.
Right. And then once he weighs in, we get kind of the final cut.
Yes, and then
on
that
the
will,
ZTA.
and that will come to you all.
Will come back to us for one more shot, and then we can tweak if we so desire, and then it goes to town council for their action, public hearing, and so forth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well. is that
Make a
time?
motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
No discussion whatsoever.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.